So what happens when hatchlings just don't turn out like we expect? I mean, we have our hopes and our dreams and our passions and what we predict and all these other calculators that we use to figure out what we're going to get. And then when we get it, what if the hatchling just isn't as healthy as we would want it to be? Stick around for this video and hopefully I can share some things that we've seen in our own collection, because we do breed ball pythons that could possibly help you out as well. Hey, how's it going, guys? Paul with Spheric Reptiles, and I thank you so much for tuning in to this special video. One that I was really torn about making. More importantly, because it's hard. It's hard when things don't turn out the way that you want them to. So, like I said in the intro, you're planning for all these wonderful, amazing ball python, pattern morphs, and healthy babies. But what happens when they don't turn out so healthy? What actually turns out if they're not healthy at all? Is there a way for us to prevent this from happening, or is it just something that just happens? Well, you know, let me talk about it. So I don't think there is a single breeder out there that says, I want a pair of ball pythons and not make something that's incredible, world's first or something like that. I want healthy babies, very vibrant. And for all the animals that are just, you know, what I want moving forward, I want to keep those. The other ones that are products of those animals that aren't fitting what our breeding projects are moving towards, we try to sell as pets or to other breeders to see if they can help them out as well. And 5% of all the hatchlings we've had, so now we've had over 100 hatchlings. So if I say 5%, then you know what I'm talking about. So that's like 5 babies. They haven't turned out so good. And the thing that I struggle with is that this is life that I helped to create by putting a male ball python and a female ball python together. And I did the best that I could, but then at the end of the day, these babies just weren't born the way that I wanted them to be. And it hurts. But you know me, I'm going to do research. I'm going to look at the numbers and see if there's some sort of trend that I can see with these animals that can help predict whether they will have these issues or not. Well, starting off the bat, what I've seen is that when we have a female ball python, and you know, I'm pretty sure that y'all are going to let me know if this is something that you've seen in your collection or not. But when I have a mouser only female, it seems like she just does not build up the follicles as fast as those that are feeding on rats. And I'm pretty sure, you know, I've talked to some of my buddies because today I've ended the first day of the Repticon Grapevine or Dallas. And I got to talk to some people and they said with ASFs, their babies turn out healthy. But some of them have seen this as well. And the only thing that I can think of when I started looking at how long it took these mouser females to ovulate or to get through ovulation and to lay their clutches is that these mouser-only females aren't getting enough fat stores to develop the lipids, the proteins, the water, because remember at the beginning stages, the follicle is predominantly water. And then it's later with vitellogenesis that the lipids, the fats, all of the other crucial amino acids and proteins get placed into that follicle. So this needs to happen really fast. Like if we look at humans, all of this thing is there's a timeline for things to work out great, and there's a timeline for when they don't. So when I use just that analogy, what I know about human reproduction and think about ball python reproduction, I just don't know if that has something to do with it. And then it's not like you're not feeding your mouser-only breeder females 3 or 4 mice at a time. It's just that those mice just do not have the fat content that those rats have, right? And I almost said rodents. Because this is so sensitive that I'm just having to talk this through. But it's something that I've seen in 2 different clutches. And so with those animals, you know, we've had some issues, guys. But let me tell you a little bit more about the hatchlings, because I think that's what matters. So as you're looking at the screen, you see Pika. Pika is a black pastel, and she's heifer clown. She was born at 58 grams, guys. She was born at 58 grams. So just that alone is very low. And then after 2 months, she got up to 62 grams. After 2 months. And the way that we do it here is we put in the mouse hopper, the live mouse hopper. We see if they take it. If they don't take it in that first feeding, then we don't force it on them. Then the second feeding, we try the same thing again. We're trying not to assist feed unless we have to. And then with this animal, Pika, she just didn't eat. So on that third try, I assist fed her. Then the next time the feeding comes, we try again, a live mouse hopper. And if she doesn't eat, okay, well, she had one before, and then we try again the next time. And if she doesn't eat, then it's every other time she's having to be assist fed a mouse hopper. Well, the issue with that is that I don't know if she's getting the nutrients, just like when she was a late term hatchling or a late term ovulation from the female ball python that she was bred from. I think that happened, but just to see the correlation, I looked at her sibling, Taco. What we noticed from him is the same thing. He was born at 57 grams, and after 2 months, he only had gained up to 61 grams. So frustrating, man, so frustrating. Same thing, live mouse hopper, 2 weeks in a row, refusal. That third time, live mouse hopper, refusal, then assist feed. Then the next time, live mouse hopper, refusal, and the next time, assist feed. So what we're doing with that is we don't want to just have to assist feed all the animals because, believe it or not, that's traumatizing and that's stressful to the little ball python who knows nothing about eating when they come out of the shell. All they know is they were absorbing yolk, I guess. They got out of the shell, they got some fresh air, got some humidity. Now they're shedding skin and now they're placed in the tub, right? So it's so frustrating. But the one thing that I've seen about these animals is their birth weight, their hatchling weight, and I don't know why I said birth, was below 60 grams. Now, on the flip side, when I looked at animals that were born above 70 grams, right? So that's just a 10-gram difference. That 10-gram difference. More than likely, when I looked at our numbers and everything, what I saw was that all of these animals that were born 7 or hatched out 70 grams or better came from rat-eating females. So, and their ovulation schedules were on time or as close to on time as you can get. The pre-lay shed came right after ovulation. The eggs were actually laid, within reason about 30 to 40 to 45 days. They went through incubation, 55 to about 56, 57 days. A lot of them broke on their own, whereas with the mouser, it was like 60 days and they still were just now starting to come through. So when I look at the fat content that the rat-eating breeder females are taking in, I can see that correlation that they're having larger babies, larger hatchling birth rates or birth weights than those that are on mousers. So, I really am interested in what you guys think, what you've seen. Of course, this content is for new breeders and existing breeders, but I think this is something that a new breeder can actually learn from just as much as an existing breeder because we all have finicky ball pythons. It's just in their nature. Hopefully you can break that. It seems like when you hatch them out in your own facility or your own home, whatever you choose to go with is what they go with. So whenever you bring one into your home, it seems like that's where the issue occurs. And that's one of the things that I also saw is that animals that came from people that feed rats to their breeder females, they're easier to transition. Now, when I get a snake in and I didn't get to do as much research on what the feeder source was or what the feeder item was for that female ball python, then that's when we've ran into some issues. It has never been from a snake that we've made because we always transition to rats. Now, the interesting thing about this is that this isn't something that I've just seen short term, but also when I look long term at these rat-eating hatchlings, their weight gains are tremendous. Now, it just gets exponential and it's on that linear growth curve that I discussed in another video where they actually get up at 6 months. I can expect for all of these rat hatchlings to turn into juveniles and they're at least 200 grams at the very least. So, they're starting out 70 grams and in 6 months, they're up to 200 grams, some of them a little bit more. And that's right in line with where they should be for as fast as they're growing and the nutrient needs that they have. Now, on the flip side, when I looked at animals that were, bred from mouser females and that I'm having a hard time getting on food, of course, they're not going to grow fast. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out, but that's just something that I've seen. And at 6 months, they're barely, I mean, they're barely cracking that 100 gram, 125 gram weight. So as a breeder, the one thing I have to do is always be upfront. So that's why we use a Husbandry Pro. I let people scan the QR code, but I also explain, like, even if the animal is feeding, what happened early on so that they know. So they have that option as to whether they want to buy or not. Now, everybody doesn't have to agree with that, but that's just me being upfront. I always want to let people know that what they're getting into is exactly what it is. So whether we shed test and we know every pattern morph that it has, the feeding, the dam and the sire, we want them to know all of this information, because whether they keep it as a pet or they choose to breed, I want them to have that option. I don't want that option to be taken away from them by me. And then they're struggling to get an animal up to body weight, size, and the year that it needs to be before they breed it. And then it turns out to not work out so well for them. So that's just one of the transparent things that I do. But there's one that's even worse, guys. This one actually hurts me a lot. Like, so yeah, whenever it happens to, you know, that 5% of hatchlings, it's always emotional. It ruins my day, just because, again, it's my doing putting this male and female together. And then when an animal comes out and say it has severe kinking, you know, and I try to look at everything that I've done, because, you know, I take notes and I document a lot, but I look at everything that I've done and I try to check, you know, just think about the incubation temperatures and everything else. And when I see that it's nothing that I've done, it still feels like it's my fault. But what can we do for these animals? Well, if they're severely kinked, they can't eat, they can't do anything, because that means not only is their spine tied up, but so are their internal organs and everything else. So this animal is really not a viable animal to continue on living. And that really hurts me. And I just want to let you guys know that breeders see this. This is one of the things that happens, because there's a lot of stuff. If you're getting into if you're a new ball python breeder, these are some of the things that you may never hear about. You'll hear about, you know, how you get them on food, and then voila, now they're juveniles, voila, now they're subadults, and then you're breeding them, right? But this is a real issue that can happen, and so I want you to be prepared. The second issue that hurts, equally important, which goes back to those low birth weight hatchlings, is if they're not getting in fluids, guys, even whenever they eat something, because ball pythons get the majority of their hydration from the rodent source that they eat. So if an animal can eat regularly, whether it's a mouse or a rat pup, right on, or even if they graduate from mouse hoppers onto small mice and then graduate eventually up to adult mice, they're getting a lot of their hydration from these feeder animals that they get, and they're eating every week, right? Every 5 days in the beginning, and then every 7 until they reach the juvenile stage. And then you can work out, you know, whether you want to feed them every 7 days, 10 days, or whatever, right? But what I've seen is that, yeah, this really hurts, man. I mean, it hurts. When you look in the tub, when you look at one of these tubs, you know it's an animal that's having a hard time eating, and you see they have a severe prolapse. So a prolapse when an animal gives birth is a lot easier to deal with from a veterinarian standpoint, because they can use digits to help reinsert it. But when it's a hatchling and they don't have a lot of blood vessels and capillaries anyway, like they're so small and those capillaries explode, and that part of their digestive system comes out of their body, like what you're seeing on the screen, it's rough, man. It's rough, because there's not a whole lot that you can actually do for this animal, because a lot of that happens from dehydration. So the best thing that I've been given advice to do from my own vet and some veterinary friends that we have is that you should cull these animals using the AVMA, which is American Veterinary Medical Association guidelines, which is to gas them off. But none of it feels good. None of it feels right, because I don't think any of you are getting into breeding ball pythons with the expectation that you'd ever have to do that. Like, most people don't even expect to have to assist feed. But if you talk to a lot of ball python breeders that have been doing it for even a year, like after that first year, the second year, they probably had to assist feed some animals. So solutions. If you have a mouse or only female, watch her. I mean, if you have an ultrasound, I think that's the only way that you can tell. Watch her follicle growth. And if it's not progressing fast enough after you introduce the male the first time, so if you introduce that male and it's 10 millimeters, and then 2 months later it's only 12 millimeters, hold off on pairing up because there's something going on. That follicle development should still be, even if she's not growing fast, should at least be 15 or 16, right? At the least. So if you, and that's with the mouser. So if you have one that's on rats, just keep pairing up because more than likely she has enough stores, it's just not at that time. So to fair balance that, the mouser could be the same way. But because in our own collection, we've seen mouser females have a more prolonged period between that 10 millimeter follicle and that ovulation, that is a reason for me to really hold off on breeding those animals. Because again, I always have to ask, what am I doing? What are we doing? If we're not trying to make healthy animals first, forget the pattern morph, but trying to make healthy, best examples of these animals, then we shouldn't be trying to breed anyway. Because this isn't a puppy mill. We're actually producing animals that we feel can help the community and that can help us to reach our goals with the fewest amount of breeder animals that we can have. And that's just Spheric Reptiles' way of doing things. It might not be yours, but I'm telling you, that's what we do. The other thing is, if you have an animal that's having a hard time with feeding, soak them. So that's one of the things that we've done, especially with like the Pika and Taco Clutch, the black pastel head clowns. We soak them. So we don't soak them all the time, but we try to make sure that they get soaked at least twice a month. And that way we feel like even if they're just sitting in the water, they're absorbing some of it. And that way, hopefully they don't have that prolapse. Now with those that have the low body weight, that's what you might have to do. I mean, that's unfortunate, but with those with the severe kinking or those with the prolapse, by the time it gets to that point, there's very little that you can do. And of course, these are naturally occurring things, but it still does not feel good. And I just wanted to put it out there that as Spheric Reptiles, we want to be completely transparent. This does not happen a lot in our collection. We only have a couple of mouser breeder-sized females, and it's up to me whether I breed them or not. One of them I'm never going to breed again because the entire clutch has had this same issue. She was a late-term mother to ovulate and to actually lay her eggs. So by the time she even delivered the eggs, I kind of already thought that something could be wrong with them because I felt like they were on the downside of the fertility for that egg, right? But hey, I'm just trying to keep it, you know, 100 with y'all, man. I mean, and it's not all glorious, but a lot of it is. Like when I was vending the show today, I had a lot of fun. This is not a somber video. I just want you guys to be aware so that you can do research on things. And when you research and you have the knowledge, then you can make the plans for if it happens to you or when it happens for you. But if nothing else, guys, hey, if you like this type of content, you know, I know it was kind of a downer, but hit that like and subscribe button and let me know what you think. I think this is really important for the community. A lot of people read the comments that you leave in our videos. So yeah, drop a comment. And if nothing else, guys, look, this is fun. Love these animals, man. Love them. Love the time that you spend with them. But always, always, always cherish and just really count your blessings for the family that you have. Thank you.